Hey there, guys. Welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's, The Twisted Ones review. Now, first and foremost, I must apologize about my ridiculously long and convoluted, and probably wrong in most places, review of The Silver Eyes. That was in my FNAF, or no, it was my Five Nights at Freddy's Silver Eyes and the Complicated FNAF story video that ran on for about 30 minutes. I hope I won't go that long this time. But, Jesus Christ. Alright. I made lots of notes about this. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. This book was a lot better than the first one, to me. I don't know, there's less of that crappy romance stuff from the first one. And a lot more terror, a lot more death, rather than, one scene begins and a character's, or one scene's about to end and a character is like startled by a robot, and then it's like, oh, it was just a fucking robot he bumped into. There's less of that and more of actual threat. That being the new animatronics, which we'll get into soon. Alright, so, to clear things up, first and foremost, the Five Nights at Freddy's games and Five Nights at Freddy's books exist in their own universes. Some elements may bleed together, but for the most part, they are unconnected. So there's no Fritz yet. There is Springtrap, but not exactly the way I remember him. And all this is making me want to drink one of these. I'll make it through without you. Anyway, yeah. First of all, what's going on in the story? Charlie and the crew, a year later, survived the incident at Five Nights at Freddy's, where Dave, the killer, in a yellow bunny suit, got him in the old restaurant in a mall. Got all the kids in a mall, in a restaurant, and kind of stuck one of the kids in the suits. Kid got out, and the animatronics came to life. The old animatronics came to life and basically made Springtrap die the way he did in the game. That's Freddy's 3, sort of. And then his body was dragged away. The book opens with our main character Charlie in college studying to make robots, a lot like her dad. And, well, she's in college, and the cop, who was with him in the last book, brings her in for some questioning, saying, oh, these things look sort of familiar. Well, they find this dead body that's all stabbed in through what appears to be more Springtrap-like suits. Charlie basically figures out that the robots are, for some reason, kidnapping people who look like her, or near her, and trying to capture them to bring them back in. What probably happens on the way to being brought back to where they're being kept is, these Springtrap suits are janky as hell. You move just enough, and your ass is going to get stabbed. What really wound up happening was people woke up or were struggling mid-capture and simply got messed up. Robot figured out, oh crap, person inside me's dead, dumps the body. What you eventually find out is that Dave, the killer from the last book that was killed in these Springtrap suits, presumably, is now back and is got these new nifty robots that have the ability to essentially trick your mind into thinking they're way less threatening than they are. Yeah. And he's trying to get Charlie for some reason. Yeah. And that's what's going on here. Like I said, I wrote down a whole bunch of notes. I'm going to kind of go through them. I sort of went through a few of them already. But, yeah. So, what makes these animatronics appear to be less threatening than they actually are is this little disc-looking thing, which did appear in Five Nights at Freddy's sister location on the... What was that damn robot? The robot you had to examine and press all the little buttons in. I know it's not Freddy. It's got the Bonnie puppet. Just drive me crazy. Anyway, yeah, there's this little disc that essentially emits, it tries to trick your brain. For some folks, depending on how it's set, it makes them either feel sick, or it kind of, like I said, it kind of makes them think that they're looking at like a cutesy, fun version of the robots. One interesting fact here is, though, that the disc doesn't seem to affect Charlie. And I think this is maybe it's because of overexposure. Essentially what we find out is that these robots were buried underneath her house, in this chamber place. And I think maybe because she's been so exposed to these robots, to this disc thing, that she's sort of immune to it. Yeah. One sort of theory I have about this disc is, I think maybe that this disc in particular has the ability to make you want to do things. I think maybe this disc is the reason why Charlie even wants to build robots in the first place. And it's insane. Oh, and one other interesting fact I wrote down was, well, I already mentioned that this disc shows up in Sister Location, but it's also mentioned in the specs for both Sister Location and Pizza Simulator. Like, we've sort of seen versions of these animatronics before. I believe it was in Sister Location that we find out that inside Freddy is like a body of a kid. And everybody looking at this back in the day was like, well, why is that? This is sort of that. And Pizza Simulator, specifics actually straight up mention a lot of this similar thing with the disc, that it changes the way people hear and see, causing almost hallucinations in some points. An interesting note. This is probably the first time in the series that the robots are not possessed. Except for... we'll get to that. Yeah. These are just robots built by Dave. Yeah. Crazy. These are his fucked up child-killing creations. More so than any of the robots we've ever seen before. And another interesting fact here is, Dave the Killer is probably... well, technically, he's now undead. The book actually said that it just simply didn't kill him, but he's so fucked up. He has to be. Plus, they saw his body sitting there in the pizza, in Freddy's, earlier in the book. He's dead. He's just undead. Trapped in the suit, basically. And he is now calling himself Springtrap. These are also the most advanced robots we've seen in the entire series, capable of burrowing into dirt to conceal themselves during the day while waiting to kidnap whoever they're trained to. Right, and oh yes, and I also mentioned how they are also to adjust their looks to look more friendly. Balloon Boy, of all of Five Nights at Freddy's 2's characters, makes his debut here. Lots of Balloon Boys, actually, with their hello speech pattern from the games. And it's really used creepily as hell here. They're probably not even real, but essentially Charlie's being chased by them. And they're like, loads of them following her. But there was one of those, I don't know, I'm just going to call it the disc, in this location that was making her see these versions of Balloon Boy. The "It's Me" line from the games, from particularly the first game, is finally introduced here. Charlie at one point says that the reason Twisted Bots want to kill all the others is, it's me. Interesting. Now, why did Aunt Jen return at the end of the book? She seemed to be a cop. And she showed up right as the entire building was collapsing. And Charlie was stuck. Move. And Charlie was stuck. And it was just kind of out of nowhere. It's like, how did she know to be here at this time? At this moment. It's odd. Now, the book has a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of it. There's a relatively, I'm assuming, young, brown-haired girl at the end of the book. Right, before we get to that, sorry, we're almost there. Charlie basically is probably dead at the end of this book. Maybe. Yeah, she's trapped in the animatronic. Animatronic's getting buried alive. All it's out there is her hand. and the hand stopped moving, and a whole big ass puddle of blood came out. Now, people can survive these Springtrap suits we've seen in the series. Now, if you know how to escape and know where not to put your body. But she's probably dead. And at the end of the book, a young brown-haired girl shows up. Now, the book is kind of vague about who this could be. Is this Charlie? Is it a cousin or some family member of Charlie? Is John simply losing his fucking mind? Is it Jen? I mean, maybe she just looks kind of young. Or, another interesting thing I sort of was thinking about, is it an animatronic using Charlie's appearance as its cloak? I'm not entirely sure. But overall, this was like I said at the beginning, this was a much better book than the first one. I recall a lot of things I was sitting there, I was like, I'm not looking forward to the fucking romance crap in this. I hated that in the first novel. It's like, okay, I understand it's sort of a younger person's novel, but it's also horror. So don't tease it. The first doesn't tease us, like I was saying. It's like, oh my god, something scary is about to happen. Oh no, it's just something fell over. That kind of stuff. And I hated that in the Silver Eyes. Whereas this one introduced our first killer robots who weren't possessed. We've got Dave the Killer is still around. So we could still do loads with him. Essentially he's this book's version of the purple guy. The main villain. And it's so much better. Having characters who had actually gone through some of this stuff before and are trying to figure out why these robots exist, why they keep killing people, and that's all the point of it all. Well, that's about it, and just as I promised, it is not nearly as long as the first video. Well, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.